For the next panel, as we have your attention right in this moment, we are going to be hearing experiences of much fortitude, experiences of women from so many different countries who've traveled the world to be with us this afternoon. So have a seat, get comfortable, and give us back your loving attention. Thank you. We have a very insightful and a power-packed panel for you coming up. We're talking to CEOs, women CEOs, who are sharing their experiences, opening up their hearts to us. So if you're ready, please put your hands together as we welcome our first speaker onto the stage, welcoming Melanie Sierra Larson. A bit more love, yes, yes. The managing director and partner at the Boston Consulting Group. You know this company, it's at the helm of making the world go round. And this lady is at the helm of it. It's an honor to have you with us. Have a seat, Melanie. Thank you. Inviting a dear soul sister from the southern part of India, a state we call God's own country, welcoming Sindhu Krishna Kumar. Woo! An architect of much repute, an adventurer by spirit. Please meet Sindhu Krishna Kumar, the chief architect at Sindhu VTech. Welcoming Anna Struna Bregar. Welcoming the lovely Anna, the CEO at the Center of Energy Efficient Solutions, Slovenia. Welcome. Norma de St. Pichman. Welcoming the lovely Norma, the Chief Executive Officer at Nora Vision Gallery, and an internationally acclaimed artist herself from Slovenia. It's an honor. Sasha Murak Hendrickson. Welcoming the lovely Sasha, the Executive Director of the Managers Association of Slovenia. Welcoming once again. It goes too silent. Let's not make it go too silent. There we go. And our last speaker, Taya Kuhar. Woo! The Chief Executive Officer, yet another, at Prasad, Slovenia. What does it mean to be a female CEO? Can we hear it from these ladies representing our globe right here? So much vibrance, so much beauty. What an honor to have each one of you with us. If I could initiate this discussion by inviting Melanie Sierra Larson to share her journey with us this afternoon.
So good afternoon, everyone. I must say that the level of energy that you have on the stage is really incredible. So I'm not sure that I will be able to adjust to you, you know. but you're really like an energy bomb. So we need more of you, you know. So thank you very much for inviting me to this great event. As some of you know, I'm very passionate about the topic of female leadership, and I will come in a second to that. But let me first tell you a little bit the story how it is to be a female CEO, because that is basically what you asked. I was privileged that I was elected 2 years ago to become a managing director and partner in the Boston Consulting Group. And at that time, I was the first ever elected female in Eastern Europe, so a little bit an outsider in the man group when they elected me. However, there were other female colleagues, obviously, around the world, in total 96 of them, out of 1,300 leaders in the company. So we have around 21,000 employees, 1,300 managing directors and partners, and out of that, 96 ladies. So you can imagine when you come to our shareholder meeting, when we have the elections twice a year, where we basically confirm our yearly plans, targets, elect new partners, and so on, the room looks very black because everyone is wearing black, including the majority of ladies. And many years ago, one older female mentor of mine told me never wear black because then they will never see you. So since that, when I go to the shareholder meetings, I'm not dressed like you because you know you have the power and also the energy to do that, even though I might do it next time. But I definitely dress up in colors. So that at least, let's say, the 1,250 men colleagues of mine noticed that I entered the room. So when I became an MDP, so managing director and partner, I devoted a lot of energy, obviously, to serve my clients around the world, but also to increase the topic of gender diversity inside our company, but also outside the company. And I try to drive this topic not just globally, but also regionally, because I see that there is a lot of misunderstanding still when it comes to diversity and inclusion. In 2014, I was also appointed as the president of the Female Manager Association of Slovenia, and I'm still a president of that association. And one of the projects that we are running is basically the topic of diversity and inclusion also in Slovenia. And what do we need on the state level to see more female around us? Because unfortunately, we are not yet seeing many ladies on top positions. And maybe also from the global perspective, what I think always, or let's say what I always feel as a shock, and I also openly talk about that with all of my clients, is when you enter the boardrooms, they are still full of men colleagues. And I would lie if I would say that I ever had a problem with that, because in my private life, or let's say personal life, I tend to work easier and much faster with men colleagues, because it's all about business. There are no emotions included. And typically, you know, in my, let's say, work, that works quite nice. However, there is a lack of creativity, innovation, and color in the room. And for sure, when you lead a multinational company, this is a big problem. And if I just take some of the latest numbers that are always good to have on mind, also when I talk with my clients, I always challenge them and provoke them a little bit. The average share of female today in the top positions is still below 25% globally. The share of female who have an ownership in a company, in a startup company or own company, is less than 14% globally. The latest WEF study showed that we will need more than 100 years for a real equality. So basically the gap between men and female on top positions is increasing, not decreasing, but increasing, even though we talk non-stop about the topic, but the gap is increasing. And so on and so on. Of course, there are some countries and companies who succeeded. I tend to take the example of Iceland as a good country which succeeded to make a big progress, but they really did it very systematically 40, 50 years ago, and therefore they have today a lot of results. In Slovenia, as I mentioned before, we are also on the beginning of the journey. So you see a lot of Slovenian ladies in the room, but unfortunately not in the boardrooms. In the boardrooms, we have less than 5% female ladies sitting on the CEO position and around 20% of female ladies sitting on, let's say, management director position, or let's say other board member positions. Yeah. So basically, the number of female is incredibly low. Yeah. And if we compare that with other more developed countries, there is really a lot of room for improvement. However, on the other side, we are similarly like developed countries having a lot of high educated female. More than 60% of girls in Slovenia are high educated. They also finish faster the university with a much higher score in average. So therefore, there is even a bigger question, what happens then? Where are the women? And why don't we see them on positions that, you know, could maybe be adequate for them and where they could also, let's say, change something around them. I personally believe that we as a society will need to do some measures. We'll need to increase some, on one side, push on implementing the measures if we really want to see some impact. Because in the last 15, 16 years, there was so much of talking, but there is no impact. And honestly, I have enough of this talking, and I think we should start doing it, because as the generation behind us are going to have even a worse situation that we have. And I'm happy that let's say, that institutions like yours and others are talking nonstop about this power of the energy of female. But on the other side, I'm also always sad that not enough men hear that, because it's a mutual problem that we have as a society, and we alone as female ladies, I mean, as ladies, will not fix the problem. It's a problem that needs to be fixed as a society. And maybe also on a personal note, few things. I also think that we as women will need to change some mindset that we have. I think that we need to become much more brave. I mean, I spoke with one colleague in a global recruiting company, and he told me that they need 9 calls to persuade a female candidate for a CEO position, while they need 2 calls to persuade a man for the position. Even though the qualification is almost equal, sometimes even the female qualification is better. So I think we need to become more brave. We need to accept, you know, opportunities, not thinking and talking at home and discussing and adjusting, but let's just accept the opportunity, and then let's start to think how we will survive it. I also think that we need to start helping each other more. On the general level, we like to say that we are sister and that we help each other and so on. But in business, in hardcore business, my biggest enemies were female leaders, not men. And I say this by purpose loud, because I think that that is, you know, a moment where we should also be honest to ourselves. Yeah. So it's if you really want to walk the talk, then you should also help, I would say, other female and men leaders, and not because of some personal problems that you have, that you do the opposite. And what I would also say, what I always say to my junior colleagues, that I'm a mentor or a coach. Just do it and apologize later. Whatever you want to do, just do it and apologize later. And last but not least, there are some simple rules that you can do in order to walk the talk and to show what you basically think when it comes to diversity and inclusion. For example, when it comes to global conferences, if I see the program and they invite me for a speech, for example, to a global conference, and there are just guys around me, so 7 men and myself, I explain them that I will not attend to the conference, and I also explain them why. And typically there is a big shock on the other side, and many times they ask me, "Are you serious?" And I'm telling them, yes, I'm very serious, but you know, this is not fair. Why do you have on a panel 10 guys or 8 guys and just me? And then I hear many times, but there are no other women. And I typically react in a sense that I write them an email with all the female leaders that they can invite, and if they need their numbers, I can connect them. So I think So I think this is a very micro step, but it's basically showing already, I would say, on outside that you think seriously with this topic. And we also in the company, I started with this crazy micro step like 2 years ago, and now we have it as a global rule. So also our men colleagues are not allowed to go to a panel if there are just men or vice versa. And I think if we would all start to do such a small steps, we could benefit. Other thing is when a newspaper reporter calls you and they put some questions that can be seen as a little bit awkward. I had just today now in the morning a newspaper reporter calling me that I should comment that women, when they come to the top, they typically lose their family and they get divorced. And I was like, that's a great question. I mean, thank you very much. But, you know, there was a study published in Sweden, and, you know, if you don't read carefully numbers, you can do a wrong judgment. So I took yesterday night to read 50 pages of the study, and then I explained statistically what this study means. And I explained also today that this is a misinterpretation, and they should comment things rightly because of the generations behind us. So thanks a lot.
Melanie Sear Larson, you represent the quantum leap that we were waiting for. No, really. You really. We need, if we could just clone you, we would. Because we know the comfort zone is a nice place, but we also know nothing ever really grows there. So you took the leap, you made the calls, and you did what you... And it's no wonder, ladies and gentlemen, I'll have you know that she is one of the first Slovenian women to occupy such a high company in a global organization. So this is for you. Traveling all the way to Kerala in India, it's our pleasure to meet an architect of much repute, someone who is reconstructing not just the walls, not just the foundations, not just the scaffolding of buildings, of large institutions, of multi-speciality hospitals, but she's doing it with a lot of love in her heart. Welcoming Sindhu Krishnakumar.
Hi, everybody. I met Mansi at the breakfast room, and we were just discussing how easy it is to meditate here. Normally, you have to concentrate, sit on the ground, but after 2 days in Slovenia, I think you don't have to make an effort at all. It just automatically comes. So I think how much time do I have? 7.5. Okay. I'll quickly recap from where I come from. I come from India, the southernmost tip of India. It's called Kerala. And India is almost like Europe. We have lots of states speaking different languages. So I just, since I have a long story to tell, but I'll make it very small and concentrate on how important it is for different cultures to merge. After my architecture degree, after a spurt of 5 years working in India, I was married and my husband was a doctor and we moved to UK. So I got a degree from UK. I worked there for another 11 years, then moved on to US for another 2 years. The cultural influence a different countries had on me was, I would say it was mammoth. So when I came back to India, I had no intention of starting an office on my own, but after working for 3 years in major projects with a senior architect, something in me, I think it's an intuition, it just told me that I have to start my own practice. So when I told that opinion to my friends and family, see, India, from where I come from, it's a pretty orthodox place, and I have settled in Calicut, which is mainly a core Muslim area, where women still wear the parda. Women are not allowed to work. So I had been in the city for just 3 years, and I wanted to start an office on my own. So I told my family, and they said, "Are you crazy? This is not a place to start a practice on your own." But I just had that intense feeling that I had to start. And I started with 2 projects, and which eventually grew into a very big practice, handling so many bigger institutions, hospitals, and hotels, and so on. That is one little thing which I want to emphasize, is that, I always feel that challenges make women do better. As soon as I started my office, just after 3 months, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So the first 1 year, I was undergoing the chemo, the radiation, and all the surgery, everything. But I just refused to give up. Everybody told me to just give up. But I think there are things beyond that. If women really want something to be done, it can be done. And especially in an adverse circumstances where maybe the culture doesn't support you. But to my experience, I would say that initially everybody had their doubts. Men would, when a new project comes, and I would talk on the phone, they would say, "Are you working from home?" So that was a pretty big insult for me, if they can't take me seriously. So I would ask them to come over, talk to me in person. I think that makes a huge difference. When you talk to another person, eye to eye, it makes a huge difference. And I have come across very difficult people who would say that I'm not capable of handling big projects, especially the project management side of it. But I think it is just the initial process. Once you prove yourself that you are capable of it, the rest just comes. Let me just explain you why I make myself unique. Women have a very strong intuition. So in our place, the Vastu Shastra, that is the traditional science of architecture, is very important. So when it comes to renovation of buildings, the energy levels are very, very important. I do not just do with architecture, not just the aesthetics of it. When I do something, I want that project to work. It's especially difficult when I do some hotels or other big institutions where it is run down. So it is just basically following your intuition, following the architecture, and following the general scenario, what the client wants. I have found that the most major challenge which I faced initially was I had no women in architecture. When I go to the site, all the consultants who are supporting me are men. All the laborers are men. And initially, they wouldn't take me seriously. But I think after a certain time, they just forget that you're a female. It's what you really want to transpire which really matters. So I'm so happy to address you all. And I'm really privileged that Dr. Harbin Arora has started a platform like this so that we can meet all people of different cultures, different skin color, and different languages can meet. I think we can learn a lot from each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sindhu, for bringing that unique perspective, not just one of an architect's. We were speaking this morning, and that's what she was saying, exactly what you said now, that a forum like this, it can create so much healing if you let it. It can create so many bonds if you let it. Of course, there's always the aspect of creating, of networking, of exponentially increasing your businesses. But the reason we're here is to open up our hearts and really go beyond. It's not just words, it's not just a phrase, but we believe in living this. We believe in the sisterhood of beyond borders, beyond biases. We're in here, not from Slovenia, not from India, not from Bulgaria. We're here as sisters of the world, right? Yes, yes. We're here, even though we carry our countries in our hearts, but we think beyond our country codes. So thank you, Sindhu, for taking us on that journey. I'd like to invite our next speaker, Anna Struna Bregar, the CEO of the Center of Energy Efficient Solutions, playing and promoting climate-neutral economies and innovating green technologies. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Dobar dan, dobrodošli. Everybody, hi, welcome, and congratulations to all the organizers for this great event. I'm architect as well as my previous speaker. And I actually decided to be an architect in the 4th grade of primary school. I really like to draw, and my parents just supported me. But none of them is actually an architect. But after finishing studying, I decided that I don't want to draw in the details, and that my vision was to have a center of architecture, to show people that built environment is really influencing our lives, and that we can have much better places to live. And actually, we spend 90% of our time indoor, and we are not aware enough how much it influences our health, productivity, and also wellness. So it's really important that we have experience in great architecture, like we taste food, fashion, cars, and computers. So we have to test good architecture to be also good investors. So after some practice in architectural offices, and also I was employed on the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment, and after 2 kids, I could not go back to the ministry, and with the support of my husband, I decided to go on my own. And at that time, a friend of mine who also had 2 children, she gave me the idea that we can start educating children about built environment. At school, we are learning about poetry, mathematics, chemistry, everything, but the built environment is really developing regarding the smart cities, buildings, all different technologies, and we are not learning about this. So we suggested to the chamber to have this program, and they offered also me to be the head of House of Architecture, and this was actually my dream. And for 4 years, I was leading House of Architecture, and at that time, I started 2 platforms. One was Play for Architecture, and the other one was Open House Slovenia. This was a festival, which was part of the worldwide festival, opening good architecture to the public, and it was really a great project. But after 8 years, when all the platforms were really successful and attracting new people joining organizations, I really like changes, and that was the moment that I decided I need something more, that we have to influence and to make better environment general. And I'm also glad that for all 3 platforms from before, we even got the highest professional Slovenian award, Plečnik Award, for educating and raising awareness about built environment. So after 2 years ago, actually 2.5, I got the opportunity to start a leading Center of Energy Efficient Solutions. And I actually didn't have the right idea where to head this organization, but when I checked that they are covering all the urban topics, so the energy, mobility, and construction, I said, actually, this is a great organization. It offers the answers to the energy climate transition that we are facing now, and we have to act. And so, in the last 2 years, when we were professionalizing this organization, we got the focus on green technologies, which are bringing now the answers to the climate crisis. And I'm really glad that in 2 years, we made a strategic partnership with visionary individuals and organizations who are joining us. And I'm really glad that some of them are also sitting today among us. And until last week, the board was with 6 men. And also in all these fields, energy, mobility, and construction, I was facing mostly manpower. But behind of them, there were also women. And we suggested that the board should be much wider, and last week it opened, so we put in the act of the organization that 2 women should be in the board. And then we had the elections, and out of 9, there are 4 women in the board, and with me, so now we are 5 women and 5 men, and I'm really glad that, thank you, that we are progressing also in this area. But if I finish, so the climate revolution that we are facing is, besides the agrarian, industrial, and digital revolution, actually the biggest revolution that we will be facing, and actually our generation should not fail this time. And we have only one chance. So this revolution should be very professional and based on the ethical values. And capitalism should be changed. So the business model should be changed, and beside that, everybody should change our habits and work together, women and men, and connect these competencies that we all have. And we should not be written in the history as the bad generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for making that significant and meaningful contribution to European Union's vision to become the world's first climate-neutral economy, Vision 2050. So what you're contributing, there you are, sorry. What you're contributing to that vision as a whole, it's extremely substantial. Thank you. I'd like to invite to speak with us. Yes, that applause. I'd like to invite to speak with us next and share her journey, Norma de St. Pichman, the Chief Executive Officer at Nora Vision Gallery, and as we know, a much acclaimed artist. Welcoming you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Can I help you?
I hope it's okay. Yes, yes. No,
Oh, okay.
thank you. Virgin tutto amor, o Madre di bontade, o Virgin tutto amore, Virgin tutto amor, amor. Dear wonderful leader, Dr. Harbin Aurore, dear respected guests, dear women entrepreneurs, dear soul sisters. I'm extremely honored to be here celebrating the empowerment of women and feminine qualities of creation, nurturing, and maintenance. Beautiful celebration of unification of womanhood all across the planet. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who helped me on my way, ancestors, partner, great entrepreneurs Madi Sharma and Isa Sialogin, and Dr. Jerzy Elegant Zwickel, as without knowing them, I couldn't have a privilege to be in this wonderful space adapted into Union Cinema Hall in 1935, with all respect to succession details, by my grandfather, architect Ladislav Kam. I've been initiated into visual arts by my mother, Alenka Kam-Pichman, architect and painter, mentored by Joseph Plechnik for Fish Footbridge as a logical parallel of iconic three bridges, and to music and performing arts by my father, quantum physicist Dr. Laura Pichman. So I'm intermediate artist, painter, and sculptor, founder of NoraVision Gallery and NoraVision Decentralized Arts Ecosystem. Exposing internationally, having 50 personal and many group shows, I will mention Sarcophage for Immortal Love, Grand Palais, Priestesses Sculptures at Congress Square, Consonances, Ljubljana Castle, Parallels, Diana's Croon at Snezhnik Castle, and my graphics are included in Bibliothèque Nationale collection in Paris. For contemporary Venice presentation, I included La Reine Soleil painting on solar panel, a prototype of NoraVision Solar, an auction and tunnel installation project for an artist in the spirit of sustainable creative recycling, basically supported by Sun Contract and Bissol Company. After years being independent artists, I've needed to shift to more structured part of a gallerist. And we are actually partnering with Artsy and Vastari Museum platform based in New York and London, exhibiting mainly female artists and focusing on limited edition prints. As fixing the right value of the artwork in the current art market system is quite a difficult task, I believe blockchain, EDLT, and AI technology can contribute solving problems of trust, transparency, provenance, traceability, along with more accurate monetary evaluation processes. As our why is fueled by personal pain points stemming from my own experience being an artist myself, NoraVision's valiant mission to end starving artists complex places artists in the center of the ecosystem, tokenize themselves so they are able sharing gross revenues with community of investors, collectors, auction houses, and galleries via a digital security offering. Every step in career, every artwork, history of accomplished traits, shares and likes, life of an artist is traced, contributing to augmented value of an artwork. I presented a project of global art platform at the Blockchain Meetup for Sustainable Goals in Celje and at Paris Blockchain Summit, and actively looking forward for presentation in Monaco International Blockchain and Monaco Investment Summit 2020. But for today's presentation, aligned with the overall idea of the conference, Women Trustfully Supporting Women and Business Beyond Borders, I would like to expose NoraVision Bridge project, in which we created a model of accessing new markets in a smooth and elegant fashion. Have you ever thought of investing in a dream? Well, NoraVision Bridge is designed for successful women entrepreneurs, just like you are, accessing new markets, being ambassadors of art, business, heritage, creation, and sustainability. Woman Ambassador expresses her sense of beauty and art through her choice of initial object, surface, material, to local craftsmen with coordination of her artist creator, designing a product that represents her business, however aligned with the cultural identity of both the initial and the targeted country. Created art, product being graphic, ceramics, textile, painting, or wood carving, combined with multiplication processes, serves as a gift or award for her business partners, or a light and overall design of new offices using sandblasted windows or windows, Murano glass ceramics. To mention great Indian artists Sandarshan Shetty, Portuguese Joana Vasconcelos, or architects Antonio Gaudí and Joseph Plechnik, everybody deeply rooted in tradition. So the created object interlacing three layers: business of women ambassador, inclusion of the craftsman, production of local and targeted country, artistic intervention of an artist. The concept is based on cooperation and mutual benefit between NoraVision Bridge ambassador, local craftsman, and the artist. On the opening event, a detailed presentation of woman ambassador, entrepreneur as a person and her particular business is given, presentation of craftsman and the artist creator. Inclusion of artistic approach and cultural identity aspect into initial business involves broader and deeper humanistic cultural dimension and makes greater impact, intensifying business as it speaks on the multidimensional level of female entrepreneurship. I will expand presentation tomorrow with visuals at parallel session. Never give up your dreams, so warmly welcome, and you can connect with me also via social media. Transcending limiting barriers, we commit ourselves to live an invisible and yet unseen. Merging arts and art therapies, technology and education. Bringing together parallel realities and enabling continuum of unique and original evaluation of material and immaterial art and research work to decoding system and transparency of blockchain. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Norma, for your melodious voice, which we haven't forgotten. It made its way into our hearts quite easily, and for your calming presence. We always say that there are so many ways to be courageous in the world, but creativity is one of the most courageous, and you represent that. Thank you. I'd like to invite our next speaker, Sasha Marak Hendrickson, a true expert in human resources, in management, and public relations. She is the executive director of the Managers Association of Slovenia, an association that whose members represent 1/3 of the Slovenian economy income. It's an honor to have your perspective.
Thank you very much, and warmly welcome from my side, especially to those rare male representatives in our this conference, and especially to my husband that came today with me. So I had to say that. So I heard a lot of stories, and we'll go shortly with mine, but starting with never thinking of myself as a female CEO. And never actually, till recently, thought much about more of a females on a leadership role, since to me it was kind of always about abilities and skills that you have, and ambition that you want to go somewhere or do something, whatever that is, and no matter what you are in gender, race, whatever. And that comes from having mom working in psychiatry for 40 years. And it might sound funny, but looking at her work with people who had different mental problems, from being neurotic, psychotic, bulimic, anorexic, depressed, you name it, and seeing how these people turned into something great with therapies, with different approach, with going through whatever was going on in their mind and whatever caused these traumas. Gives you perspective that anyone can be anything, and it doesn't matter, whether you are male or female or different race or something. So through the years, first seeing this, and then later when, knowing what I want to do, and there was always something, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, I'm really interested in this, I'm really interested in that. I wasn't interested in being a CEO, I am interested in achieving something that I really found passionate and interested. I met amazing amount of amazing people that are much more successful than I am, that are much more brave than I am, that I think are also much more intelligent than I am. Not that I don't think good of myself, I am self-confident. And those people are usually the most humble people. And from them I learned, again, that humbleness and respect for each person and the inclusiveness, and with that comes also diversity that Melanie was talking about, is more or less everything that I am working on when I am trying to achieve. So I am now more honored to have the best team in the world around me, to have amazing colleagues in management board of Managers Association, female and male, that are supporting me, family, husband, and everything. So that's a bit more important to me than thinking about being a female CEO. However, when started working as a executive director of Managers Association, there came a very important task that Managers Association was tackling before me coming, and that was the one Melanie, my colleague, who is president of a female section in our association, was already talking about. And the funny fact is that what she mentioned about women and men being supportive to each other was something that also happened to me when starting this role, which for those who are not from Slovenia, it's a kind of a position that's much desired, it's very exposed to media, has a lot of responsibility. People look up to you, whether are you capable of doing this or that or not. So when I started with this role, there were men, mostly men, 80% of men approaching me, congratulating me and asking me, is there something I can do for you? Is there a way I can help you? Let me know, call me, I am here. I didn't hear that from many women, seriously. There were a few women that came to me and said that, most of them, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to be too criticized and too bad towards women. Most of them came to me to tell me what mistakes made a director who was there before me for 12 years, in how big shoes I have stepped in, and what do they expect from me to do. Which is fine, because I also need to hear this side, and it's always good to hear expectations and desires, because I need to orient myself what to do and how to work. But for me, that was a very, very interesting experience. You know, when tackling issue, we want to have more female on top positions. But what I also want to say to defend a female side is that when you get a friend, when you get to know someone being also a female, is a person that will open every door to you. And this is where I have to thank to some of the females that are also here, Valeria here in the first row, Medea being our vice president, Melanie here, and Sonia, my deputy, and all others that helped me a lot, is that there is no problem, nothing I cannot help you with if I can. So these are a bit too interesting experiences for me, and a bit of something I want you to take with you, being a female who is here to support other female, because in the beginning it was mostly men that were supporting me. And to end this presentation, or to end my speech and what I think about all being a female CEO, will end with something that Melanie was already explaining. We are still kind of walking around this diversity and inclusion thing and female on the top positions like it's, you know, do we really have to tackle with this? You know, it's not a core topic. And I am most honored that in these 2 years, since I have been leading this association, we, with Melanie and support of girls that are in this female section, board of female section, we gained the support of the general management board, with male included, to finally take a further step. And if recommendations for 20 years and more don't do enough to make a big change and to get a bit of a better gender balance on top position, then we should do it, you know, by law. And this was for the first time in the history that we gained this support, official support, and that now male representatives are coming with me to the meetings with all the political parties, with all the biggest union representatives, and strongly believe in that in fostering better gender balance and diversity also by law will be good for all of us. So therefore, coming from not even thinking of being a female CEO, but just a CEO who has an opportunity to do something great, now I do understand this perspective well, and I strongly believe in our efforts to make a big push in a legal way and not to wait those 100 years and more that were analyzed by World Economic Forum. Because 100 years and more to close the gender gap is really not something I would want to wish for my future generations and for anyone else. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you for taking us on that journey. And you're right, even though the World Economic Forum took out that report about the massive gender gap, but the Women Economic Forum is exactly the work that we're trying to do from our parts as women, as feminists, as leaders worldwide to bridge that gap. And I think there is a certain energy of acceleration that's taking on. We're in Slovenia having this conversation. There are women from 30 countries in this room right now. I think there is an energy about this conversation, about this weekend, that says that gender gap is closing quickly. I think something is about to change. Our last lovely speaker for this panel, it's my privilege to invite Taya Kuhar. She is the creator of these beautiful juices that you see on the table here, sharing with us most generously, creating a world of well-being through plant-based products and sharing that with the world. And her company is called Prasad, which reminded me, like in India, the word prasad, it means food that comes from the gods. It's an offering of the gods. So it's just a correlation. And yeah, it is really, like we're so uniquely connected. Welcoming you, Taya Kuhar.
Thank you. Dear ladies, dear colleagues, it was an honor to accept this invitation to be here with you today and share also my experience to you. I'm glad that we are sharing all our knowledge, our talents, our wisdom, our life experiences, as well as this pleasant, multicolor energy. I started my personal story when I was still very young, when I was trained and competed in cross-country skiing. At that time, I learned already some soft skills like self-discipline and sporting subordinates, as you have to persist even when it is very, very hard, but you have to cross the finish line. And with this every competition, with every hard moment that I went through, I grew stronger. My business career started in a family company founded by my father, whose leading position I took over later on. I'm still in a family business in one another company. So that is why I would like to share with you some specific aspects relating to managing a family business as a female CEO. Leadership is, for me, something fascinating to it. It gives us a certain freedom. It gives us a certain independence. But however, it is still connected with great challenges if we are aware of that the fact that family businesses where two words meet, word of a business and word of a family, and they influence each other a lot. Decisions need to be taken, on one hand, very carefully, on the other hand, very quickly. Our advantages are flexibility, shorter response time, so it is really important to act constantly. And as a CEO, I have to be able to recognize what is also good for the business and what is good for the family. We are all members of a family, so one big family, and my decisions influences not only on business, not only on the employees, but also on all their families. And this is where I feel a huge responsibility, which often leads also to some sleepless nights. My experiences tells me that female CEOs can, in this respect, be more creative, as we are driven by empathy, by emotional intelligence, and strong intuition. And that is why I have to know myself first. I have to know myself, my weaknesses, my strengths. I have to be open for all feedbacks on my work. And I have to bear in mind that as a CEO, I'm only the first among equals. And although my focus should be more on a strategy, I'm still a human being. One another point, what for me is very important in this business, is to recruit people based on the values. Values must be set together with the owner, with the family members, and the employees together. Why? Because conflicts on that level can never be solved, and this influence on success a lot. And when we are talking about the success, we all know that the stories of success are not written by the businesses, but by people. It is necessary to focus on employees. Therefore, I have to know my people very well. I have to realize or recognize their needs, and consequently, I need to select a model of motivation which helps me get their best out of them. And as a manager, I also consider my authentic nature to be crucial. Today's conference has a powerful title, Woman Trustfully Supporting Woman. From my personal experiences, I can say that I often come across with women's envy. This makes me very sad, as it is completely unnecessary. I believe we can achieve far more by joining forces. So we should work together, we should smile together, why not sometimes cry together? We must help each other on a much, much higher level, and this way build a better world for today as well tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Taya, for your insightful sharing of your journey, and thank you for trusting us to share so generously the journey that you've been on. Thank you. And I want to thank each one of you ladies for bringing your uniquely, fearlessly, authentic perspectives in the work that you do and the legacies you create every day. And this, for you, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in offering gratitude to these remarkable lighthouses of women. Can I request you to stand for a group photograph so we can capture this moment? Let's do that. And the rest of us, we'll keep clapping for a while. Good. Okay, let's do it. Hello again. You're still here. Yeah, we almost didn't see you because we didn't hear you. You were so quiet. Why are you so quiet? Okay, so you know what? There's only an hour between us and lunch. So I understand the energy is going down. Okay, I'm still here. Are you still here? Okay, good. Okay, so let's make some noise. We're gonna make music, okay? So it goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Ready? You got it? Okay, so start. Only this side. Stop. This whole row. Make your music. Middle row, come on. Turn up the volume. Turn up the volume.